Yes. All right. Well, we'll move on. Hey, that's it for the Cowboys. Anything you want to add real quick, just kind of about the Cowboys?
I think they're going. I think they're the favorite to win the division. Um,
All
I mean,
right.
we'll talk more about the
Favorite.
Eagles.
I
I
don't know about the
think
favorite,
defenses.
but
They're the yeah. I think defenses are gonna have figured out. Um, I think that some defense are going to figure out the Eagles, and I think the Eagles are going to lose a lot more games than they did last year. Not in the division,
probably true.
but
Probably true. Well,
we'll get into
yeah.
it.
Let's start about the Eagles. New additions and losses. First thing on my notes here: lost 7 starters. 5 on the defense, 7 starters. That's incredible. Now we'll go over obviously what they made up, but there's obviously the old adage in the NFL: your defense is never the same as last year, even if you keep all players. So losing 5 stars to the defense is extremely crazy. They did add players, and we'll go over that. So that talent-wise, they're still fine, but losing 5 starters, I can't stress that enough. That's pretty ridiculous. Obviously, they lost CJ Johnson, Gardner Johnson, CGJ, sorry, CGJ, my bad. Um, and then they lost Javon Hargrave, TJ Edwards, Kaiser White, Marcus Epps. Those are all the defenders they lost. And then on offense, they lost Miles Sanders and Isaac Samola. I believe he was their guard, and he's pretty good too. So I mean, they're all
He's really good.
they're notable players. Like they're not. They lost 2 linebackers. Linebackers are in this league. But they lost both their
Um,
linebackers, starting linebackers, and their starting safeties, which is a duo, you know. But I mean, the safeties I think are a bigger issue. The biggest issue is just the fact that there's 7 starters who would probably start on any team. That's the
all
biggest
right,
thing.
maybe that synergy
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
playing together as a defense. Yeah,
And then they did add Rashad Penny, DeAndre Swift, Miles Jack, Terrell Edmonds in free agency, and then through the draft, they had a very good draft. Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Tyler Steen, he's a guard. They plugged him in, and then Sidney Brown and Keely Ringo. So they added quite a bit there to make up for the 7 starters they lost, which is good. Um, but it's a new team. It's a new team.
yeah,
That's definitely thing. And then I'm gonna start on just key names here real quick.
yeah.
Anything you wanted to add, kind of on their additions or their losses, real quick?
Well, I mean, I think they upgraded. In turn, I think it's going to be a more talented defense this year. We'll see how good they play together. But I'd take Jalen Carter over Javon Hargrave. Linebackers, yeah, not sure. Terrell Edmonds and Marcus Epps, I'm not sure there. But I think just the addition of Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith, dude, they have a deep front seven
Oh yeah,
again.
no, it's
I
deep.
just
Yeah,
freaking Derek Barnett is looking to be. He is not a bad pass rusher
no, Derek
whatsoever, and he's
Barnett's
looking to be
really really
traded because
good.
he's not going to fucking play.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. No, you're
that's
right.
that's pretty ridiculous. Miles Jack did end up retiring. He's not with the team anymore.
Gotcha.
But
Good to know. I didn't
liked
know that.
I really liked Keely Ringo too. I thought he had no business falling to the fourth round. He did have some trouble locating the ball, but I mean, think about the traits, man. 6'2", runs a 4.4, played in the SEC. Come on, man. He had no business
We'll
falling to the
see.
fourth round.
We'll
And I
see.
think
We'll see.
I
We'll see.
Yeah, I think teams tried to get way too cute and way too clever in the draft this year, and they let Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith fall to the Eagles. That's
Yeah,
why I'm
that
not
was
taking the
tough.
draft off this year. The
That was
draft
tough.
gods gave me a clear sign. I can't take the draft off because my God, the Eagles just blew it out of the park.
Yeah, no, they certainly did a good job. I definitely don't think they upgraded though, and I'll go with why. Key names on the offense. We got or I'll go in why later. Sorry, but key names on the offense. Jalen Hurts, obviously. D Swift, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goddard. They also have Rashad Penny and Kenneth Gainwell at running back. Um, that's pretty solid. Uh, yeah, that's a bunch of talented dudes. I'd have to give them another A as far as skill position goes. Maybe a B plus. I don't know. Um, Offensive line: Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, Jason Kelsey. Then it's either I forgot his name, but Jurgens or Tyler Steen's gonna play that guard position for him. Then Lane Johnson. Yeah, that's an A plus actually at the end of the day. At offensive line, I don't think you can get better than that. That's probably the best in the league if they stay healthy,
Yeah,
as far as just pure
yeah,
talent.
I'd agree. I'd
Yeah,
agree.
front seven, like we talked about, is fucking loaded. They are loaded.
Yeah,
Brandon Graham, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis. Jordan Davis. We didn't even talk about
yeah,
him. Like he's, we obviously know. If you don't know who Jordan Davis is, he's a freak. He's that huge ass guy out of Georgia last year. He runs fast, he jumps high, and he's like 370, 80 pounds, something like that. Fletcher Cox, vet, obviously. Josh Sweat, decent pass rusher. Derek Barnett, good pass rusher, like you mentioned, probably going to get traded just because they want value from him. Hassan Reddick, their main pass rusher, going to be amazing. And Nolan Smith. If Nolan Smith is the pass rusher that he was or he can be, he's going to make them so much better. Because the biggest question right now, or the biggest thing is, obviously they have interior help, but they're a little low on pass rusher if it's only Hassan Reddick. But Nolan Smith, if he comes out and plays good, which he probably will be, because he's gonna get in single, he's not gonna get double teamed ever. Um,
yeah, yeah. No, not a
I mean,
chance.
that's gonna be tough. That's gonna be so hard for a lot of offensive lines to deal with. It's him and Hassan. Then obviously at linebacker, Nakobe Dean. I don't know who else they have there. I didn't put anything there. But yeah, I mean that's as good as it gets. I definitely would say I just have to give them another A plus because I think their D line makes them that good. Or what do
Yeah,
you have to
yeah,
say?
and where, well, I mean, where I see them, or where I see a big advantage that they're going to have this year, their D line is going to be fresh at all times. I don't see
Yeah,
a whole lot of drop off between their
true,
ones and twos, and that's
true.
what NFL teams usually do. They'll usually just rotate ones and twos, and that's where I see them having the biggest advantage over teams. I mean, you got Jalen Carter, arguably the most talented player in this past draft. He was number one on my board.
Number one on
Um,
a lot of people's boards.
and he might not even start because you have Brandon Graham, Jordan Davis, Fletcher Cox, and Josh Sweat. I mean, that's just it's stupid. It's dumb.
Yeah, it
Like
is. Yeah,
you got so much talent, and yeah, I will say on the edges they're a little bit suspect. But Josh Sweat, Hassan Reddick, and Nolan Smith. I mean, teams in the NFL would kill for that.
no, they definitely
So
would. The one thing where I do think they lack the biggest though is here in the secondary. I don't know how
yeah,
old James Bradbury is, but I know he was looked at as old like a couple years ago. That's probably something I should have looked up. Um, he's definitely out of his prime. Darius Slay is as good as corner as anyone is right now, and then Ringo and Terrell Edmonds. Terrell Edmonds is all right. He's good to have there. Obviously, Keith Ringo is a huge question mark. He's going to play notable downs though for him for sure because they are suspect in this in their secondary. Not a lot of depth there.
yeah,
Just not a lot of they were
right.
suspect last year too, and they lost both their safeties. That's incredible. I
Yeah,
don't
and
even know
safeties are
who's playing
usually
safety for him. I think it's like that Blankenstein guy or Blankenship. I think he's
I don't
still
know.
there, and he played good. But I mean, yeah, it's scary. That's obviously the front seven's really gonna help him out. So I don't know. Maybe they'll be great, but
Well, that's I mean, if the front seven can pick up that pick up some of the deficiencies in the secondary, they'll be fine. I mean, you can't throw to an open guy if you're getting sacked. You've got hands in your face.
true,
You got pressure, and so yeah,
true.
linebackers and safeties will be real interesting.
Hmm.
Because I would say typically those guys are the verbalizers, the communicators on the defense, gets everyone set up. I mean, you see all this pre-snap motion going on. It's getting more and more prevalent, and so yeah, man, synergy might be a big thing. I actually saw with the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, the Chiefs figured out they scored twice on this play, um, where the Eagles couldn't pass off
Kadarius
pre-snap
Tony, right?
motion. I don't know. I know it
No,
was two touchdowns though, and they couldn't. And so yeah, I mean that's not going to get any better. So yeah, we'll see.
no, yeah, and key points here. What I wanted to know is I didn't think they upgraded. I thought they lost a lot, and I truthfully think they were a better team last year, mainly because of that secondary. And one thing I just want to know, they don't necessarily have anybody in their prime on the defense. I mean, you can say Hassan Reddick is, you can say Darius Slay is. I certainly wouldn't say either of them are in their prime.
No,
Um, and
no,
the rest
yeah,
of
that's a
them are
good
so
point.
young. Like, yeah, they have Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham to help out the young guys, but with the Super Bowl window always being so short these days, and these years, they don't have anybody that it's just right now that is just gonna go and dominate play after play like an Aaron Donald or
Yeah,
like a
true.
Nick Bosa or a Joey Bosa, like or Miles Garrett.
Micah.
Yeah, Micah Parsons, exactly. They don't really have anybody like that right now. Obviously Jalen Carter could be that. Obviously, any of these guys, the younger guys, could be that, but they certainly don't have that as we speak or that we know of. Um,
Yeah, I
I
will
I, I
say.
think. Oh, go ahead.
I will say. Go ahead. I'll say this to end off the Eagles.
I was just gonna say they're still loaded. Now I don't
Yeah.
want anyone to think I am underplaying the Eagles here. They're still loaded with talent on both sides of the ball. Offense, I think, is better than the defense just because of those reasons I mentioned. And their offensive line makes them pretty ridiculous. I think Jalen
Yeah.
Hurts is just a touch overrated because of his offensive line, but his intangibles make up for it tenfold, honestly. And O line's still amazing, so that's not really a big concern right now. Um, Biggest concern for them, though, definitely is secondary is very thin and was pretty suspect last year. Um, yeah, that's my biggest concern. It's just their secondary, and obviously their defense just doesn't have anybody in their prime. But what were you gonna say to
Yeah.
end it off?
Cowboys fan worst nightmares. Eagles Cowboys one possession game. Cowboys on offense, Eagles on defense. Brandon Graham will cause a strip sack and
Yeah,
will end the
yeah,
game.
he always seems to.
Um,
That is definitely the worst
I'm
nightmare.
I've been excited for that guy to get out of the league for 10 years. So I'm gonna go.
All right, analysis wise, just summary on them. Probably the most pure talented team in the league. Easy. Great season. We'll probably win the division just because they're so good. Jalen Hurts' leadership ability makes them a very likely NFC and Super Bowl contender. Definitely. Strength schedule's hard. The NFC East has a really hard schedule this year. Um, they start with the Patriots. At Patriots, I have them beating them. Then they play the Vikings, win. At Bucks, win. Commanders, win. At Rams, win. At Jets, I have a loss here just because they're due for a loss. At Dolphins, I have a loss because I do think their secondary is so thin. And I think they're going to have a really hard time, obviously, with Waddle and Hill. Um, Commanders, at Commanders, win. Then they play the Boys. At Boys, win. At Chiefs, loss. Or at Boys. Sorry, no. At Philadelphia, win against the Cowboys. At Chiefs, loss. Bills win. Niners win. At Cowboys, loss. This is where they lose. Have them just splitting games. Seahawks win. Giants win. Cardinals win. Giants win. End the season 13-4. I have the Cowboys and Eagles sweeping the Giants and Redskins, which is pretty crazy. Probably won't happen, but just had that. And yeah, we are. Anything you wanted to add to the end of the Eagles? No,
No, very, very, very talented team. Going to be one of the best teams in the league this year.
definitely.
Um, and yeah, yeah, that's about it.